So I'm going ahead and I'm putting everything back together as it should, and I have been putting the new bearing in. The parts manual that I was looking at showed that the bearing went in and then the spacer went in and then this retaining clip, but the way I took it out did not look that way. So I put the grease barrier in first, spacer, then I put the bearing in. Moves nice and smooth, and then I put this piece back on using my rear wheel brake stay as a wrench. It fits perfectly in there, and because the paint's already a little chipped, I figured no one's going to notice a couple of little marks there and there. So I've got this side reassembled. I'm going to flip this around. I've got the spacer for the axle in my freezer right now, making that a little bit smaller so that I can put it in here. I've got this grease spacer in, it goes in pretty loose. So I can put that in and get it into the bearing without too much hammering and bashing, and we'll see how that goes. Let's see if we have any luck. Went right in. Good, because that was a little tricky. And it spins nice and freely. So now I'm going to get the other bearing, and using this as my drift, which is the perfect size, this is a 31mm socket, I'm going to get the other bearing in place. I had this other bearing in the freezer as well, hoping to make it small enough so I wouldn't have to get it in here with too much bashing. The problem is, with the middle part also smaller, it'll make it tricky to get it onto that spindle. So I'm actually going to try and heat it up, just the middle part, by putting it on my finger while keeping the outer part nice and cool. Let's see how this drops in place. I'll give this a little bit of heat, expand this a little bit. It's already pretty warm in here on this nice winter's day. Let's see if I can get this in there enough so that I can get the retaining clip in place. Alright, so that last one used a little bit of yarning on. It wasn't the outer edge that was difficult, it was getting the inner edge over the spindle. So rather than put all the force on the outside, deforming the inside, I actually end up using this socket on the middle section to punch over the spindle. It's in, everything moves nice and smooth now. So now it is time for the retaining clip to put in. This one has regular thread, righty tighty, and then I will be ready to install the rear brake on this bad boy. Cleaned up the inside of the drum. I didn't wreck the threads putting in the bearing, so I'm feeling pretty good about that. By the way, these bearings I got are the Zyke bearing, I don't know, 6204-2RS. Went in pretty smooth. So I've installed the sprocket back on with these 5 bolts, making sure to do it in a star pattern. Always do things in a star pattern, even when you're changing lugs on a snare drum. You always go in a pattern this way so that the whole thing goes on nice and even. You don't want any play in there. And then I've got the rear hub brake. The pads on the back don't look too shabby. I mean, as far as stopping power, drum brakes are awful anyway. You may as well just use your feet on the ground. But these look like they have a little bit of life left in them. I've cleaned it all up. Cleaned up the front. And then this piece here just sits in the hub like that. And now this thing is ready to go on the bike. The brake pedal will go into this bit here. I don't actually have the rod that comes from the brake pedal to this. I'll either make one or order one online, as I said before. But when this is pulled, the shoes inside expand, stopping the bike. So that's that. Rear wheel done. Needs a little bit of air, a little bit of what is that stuff? Armor all for the tire. I'm leaving the rest right where it is. Tire's still good and solid, just cosmetic.